Hello everybody and welcome to another C++ tutorial for beginners. Now in this video, we are going to be covering the switch statement. Now the switch statement is very similar to an if, else block, but allows us to do something in a much cleaner and more elegant way. So with that said, let's talk about the switch statement. So before we dive into the switch statement, I'm just going to quickly give you an idea of what you can expect for the rest of the series. So in the rest of the series, what I'm going to be trying to do is covering pointers, references, functions, classes, strings, and a few other more advanced things in C++. We're not going to get too crazy into the object-oriented programming aspect of C++ because that is just more advanced and you need to kind of master this stuff first. But I will definitely talk about pointers, definitely talk about references, and kind of those more intricate and difficult details in C++. Anyways, in this video, we're going to cover the switch statement, so let's do that. So as I said in the introduction, the switch statement is very similar to an if and else if structure or if else if else. However, what it actually does is it takes in one expression. Now, an expression could be a variable, an expression could be like a variable plus one. So for example, if I say something like int x equals 1, and then I say int y equals 2, then an expression is something like x plus y, or x plus y plus 2, or even just x itself. So it takes some expression, and it compares that expression to a ton of different values. Now, if that expression is of a certain value, then it will do what's in that switch case. Now, you'll see what I mean in 1 second when we write out the switch statement. But one thing to, point out here is that you don't need a switch statement. What I'm showing you here, and a lot of the stuff I'm showing you, you can do in different ways. And actually, in a lot of programming languages, there is no switch statements. So if there is a switch statement, it's great to use it, but you do not need to use it. And you could use an if and else if structure to do the exact same thing I'm going to show you here. A switch is just a bit more elegant. So I'm going to code out a switch. I'm going to say switch like that. And when you do this, what you need to put inside of these parentheses is an expression. So let's make a variable. Let's say int x equals 2. And we're going to put x as our expression. And in fact, actually, let's do x plus 1. So what's going to happen now is inside of this switch statement, we are going to write cases. And a case is just a block of code that tells us what to do when this expression is equal to a certain value. So I'm going to say case 1 colon. And then after this colon, in an indented block, I'm going to put what I want to happen when the case is 1. So we will continue in 1 second, but I need to quickly thank the sponsor of this video and this series, which is Algo Expert. Algo Expert is the best platform to use when preparing for your software engineering coding interviews. They have the highest quality coding interview questions, data structures crash course, mock interviews, and a ton of other features on the platform. Get started with Algo Expert today by clicking the link in the description and using the code TechWithTim for a discount on the platform. So any code that I want to run when x plus 1 is equal to 1 goes in here. So I can just say, oops, cout, and let's just say cool for now. And then I'm going to put break. And now what I've done is I've ended this case. So the basic syntax is you do switch, you have your parenthesized expression, you then have the curly brackets. Inside of here, you add your cases or case if you only had one case, although it wouldn't really make sense to do that with the switch statement. So you say your case, that's the keyword. You then put the value you want to compare to the expression. You put a colon and then indented. So you press tab. You put all of the code that you want to run. Now, I believe this does not need to be indented. I'm pretty certain if you do this, it will still work, but it's better practice to put this indented because then it's just way easier to read and you can kind of see where the cases start and where the actual code that's running is. And then once all of your code is done, you add a break. You can kind of think of that as terminating the case. All right, so I'm going to do another case. I'm going to say case 2, colon, and then here we'll say cout, and we'll just say not cool, and then we will say break. Okay, so let's just run this, and let's see what happens when x is equal to 2. So 2 plus 1 is going to be equal to 3, so just take a guess at what's going to happen. So when I run this, you're going to see that nothing happens, right? And the reason nothing happens is because, well, x is equal to 2, and we don't have a case for 3. Is when 2 plus 1, we get 3. We don't have a case for 3. So let's change x to 1, and now let's see what happens. When I run this, you're going to see that we get not cool printing out. Again, the reason we get that is because, well, 1 plus 1 is equal to 2. This is the case 2. And so we print out not cool. Finally, we can change x equal to 0. And so let's run this and we get cool. So that is really the basics of a switch statement. Now you can put as many cases here as you want, right? So I can do another case. Let's go case and let's go like 10. We can say interesting or something like that. Did I even spell interesting right? Do I need another E? I think so. Interesting. Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. Let's change this now to be 9. Let's run this. And there we go. We get interesting. All right, so now you know how to use a switch statement. You do your case, you do whatever you want to happen, then you can add a break to terminate your case. And note you can do multiple things here. You don't have to just say see out something. We could add like an if statement here or something, or we could add anything else essentially in this block, but break will end each of our cases. And then there's one more thing to show you here, which is called default. So notice that when I did something like for, right? If there's no case for for, that's fine. Sometimes we don't actually want to do anything when there is no case for whatever the expression value is. So for 4, if we didn't want to do anything, we could leave it like this and well, nothing would happen. But if we do want something to happen, we want to have what's known as a default case, we can do that. Now the default case is kind of equivalent to like an else in the if else structure. So if one of these cases is not the case, no pun intended, then we have the default which will run. So, oops, I didn't mean to do that. I'm gonna add default, and the default doesn't take anything after the colon because this is anything, right? The value of the expression could be anything other than one of these cases. And then in here we'd say cout, and let me just cout default for now, just so that we understand this is the default case. So now if x is equal to 4, and I run this, you can see that we get default. If I now make this equal to 1 though, so our case is now going to be 2, and we run this, we get not cool. So really, that's all I need to cover for the switch statement. I mean, I could drag this video on and show you a ton of different examples, but I think you guys probably get the point here. You just define your different cases. You put your expression inside of here. The expression can be anything. I'm adding 1 to x, but you can just put the variable x. That totally is fine. That works as well. You don't only have to do this with ints. You can do this with strings, with booleans, whatever. All you're doing is you're comparing this expression right here to the value of all of these cases. You can think of it as writing an if statement, where you say if x is equal to 1, and then you could say, you know, else if x is equal to 2, and then so on and so forth. And then finally, the default would just be represented by the else. You can use either structure that you would like. The switch is just more elegant when you're just going to be comparing the value. So with that said, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in another YouTube video.